Couple decides to renovate basement. Makes life-changing discovery they were never expecting. Reddit user Brannick12, who will be referred to as Paul for this story, was a 35-year-old who described himself as a do-it-yourself home remodeler. He and his wife had bought a house in the greater Cleveland area dating back to the 1940s, and while they were excited, they were the first to admit that their new home needed a ton of work. Together, Paul and his wife had already completely remodeled just about everything on the first and second floors of their home, and they decided that it was time to move on to their basement. They thought it would be just another job, but they were about to find out that this remodel would be anything but routine. The basement of the couple's home could have been best described as downright creepy. The gigantic room was dark, with only a few small windows giving the place any light, and the floors were made of thick, cold concrete. But for Paul, this basement was a blank canvas compared to his other remodeling jobs. On the walls, Paul's home was covered in plaster that was aging and peeling away, revealing some of the cinder block stone behind it. He decided to get the project started by tearing the walls down. But once he did, he quickly made the first of many strange discoveries that he would find in his basement. We peeled back the walls and revealed some random writings and drawings, Paul wrote on Reddit, attaching pictures of what he found. The etchings were a mix of doodles and names, but something felt off. Nonetheless, Paul decided that he had to continue on with the renovation, despite an unsettling feeling that he had at the pit of his stomach. With the walls completely renovated, Paul found himself nearly surrounded by the peculiar drawings scrawled all over the otherwise bare walls. Now that this stage of the home renovations was finished, it was time to start gutting the ceiling. He was hoping that this would pass quickly, but things did not go as planned. Inch by inch, he began to take apart the ceiling of the basement, which exposed the wooden beams and metal piping above. Everything was going as planned. But then, suddenly, he noticed there was something tucked in between the pipes. What he saw stopped him dead in his tracks. Paul wondered to himself what on earth that object could be. He quickly grabbed a flashlight and scaled up the ladder to get another look. And suddenly, he saw the same flash of green that he thought he'd seen before. His eyes were not deceiving him. There was a small metallic box tucked between the beams and plaster of his ceiling. Paul carefully removed the dust-covered box from the ceiling. The dark basement was no place to unlock something like this, so he told his wife to come outside with him, trying to get a better view. As soon as he picked up the box, he could feel that there was definitely something inside. Paul had seen a ton of these hidden treasure unboxings online and decided to grab a helpful banana for scale. There was no bananas in his home, so he settled on a banana-shaped toothbrush that he randomly happened to have at home. Odd as that was, the box's contents were strange tenfold. Once the couple pried open the green box, they found that there were 3 separately wrapped packages inside, each wrapped in old wax paper. Surrounding the packages was a piece of old newspaper, a copy of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. It was dated March 25, 1951. Whatever was inside these 3 packages probably had been there since at least the 1950s and hadn't been touched since. With the excitement steadily mounting, Paul finally unwrapped the first of the 3 packages. Right in front of his widening eyes, he found a giant stack of bills. And these bills were not just paltry $1 or $5 denominations. It was official. He had indeed found a hidden treasure in his home. "These are all 20s, Paul exclaimed over Reddit. The couple guessed that there could be as many as a couple $1,000s within just one of the packages. "We were freaking out at this point," Paul wrote. As his adrenaline was rushing, he and his wife moved on to open the second package. And this one's contents were about to be even more startling. The second package did not have any 20s, Paul wrote on Reddit. Instead, every single bill found in the second package was a 50, and the stack was just as high as the first package. There were at least a few more $1,000 laying in front of the couple, and they could barely believe it. Without wasting any more time, Paul moved on to the third package. Paul and his wife were expecting the third package to be filled with even more bills, but they were not prepared for just how much would actually be in it. The entire stack of this package was made of $100 bills. This was out of control, Paul wrote on Reddit. Paul felt like he was being pranked on a TV show. He gathered all the money that he'd collected and stared at this almost fictional fortune, a hidden treasure he'd been unknowingly standing on top of. The box was now empty, and Paul thought that he'd unwrapped the third and final package, but there would be even more he didn't know about yet. Flipping through his new riches, Paul noticed that what he had in front of him was probably just the half of it. Some of these bills were rare and could be worth more than they appeared. Paul wrote online that he noticed some brown notes, a gold certificate, and some star notes, nearly uncirculated, were among his new windfall. Every bill had been printed between 1928 and 1934. While he'd read about other people finding hidden treasure, he had no idea what people did after they made their discoveries. "What do we do now?" he asked. "Is it ours? What's it worth?" He tried to find out. For now, the home renovation was put on pause. Instead, the couple spent hours online looking up rare bills and searching for an appraiser for the bills they discovered. Paul called a friend who was an estate lawyer, who confirmed for him that the money now legally belonged to the couple. With that information, he was off to an appraiser. It turned out that 20 of the bills were now above their face value, and 10 of them were now worth 4 times as much as they originally had been. In total, the couple found what was worth $23,000 today, stuffed away in their basement ceiling. And somehow, the story got even more unbelievable. Their house was not yet done revealing its secrets. After about a week, the high wore off, Paul explained in a follow-up post about this hidden treasure. The couple still had a completely unfinished basement to take care of, and it was a mess down there. So Paul got back to work on his home. Paul picked back up right where he'd left off and began to tear away more of the ceiling of the basement. He pried apart a bit of the plaster, and as the pieces came crumbling down, he saw a familiar shade of green in the ceiling. Could it actually be possible? Was there yet another one of these boxes? This time there was no second guessing what Paul had seen. His expectations were high, and he quickly removed the second box from the ceiling and brought it upstairs. But he could not keep playing this guessing game. He had to know what else was up there in that crevice. Together, they cracked this box open and stepped back. Once again, the contents were wrapped in another fragment of old newspaper from 1951. But underneath the newspaper, there was something even more unbelievable than what the couple had found inside the first box. The second box was stuffed almost entirely with $20 bills, with a few $50 and $100 bills mixed in with the collection. The couple counted $10,000 in $20 bills, and even more once they added the other bills found inside. Once again, some of the bills were clearly extremely rare. The couple could not believe their luck, and once again went to see how much this hidden treasure was worth. Just like they had the week before, the couple found themselves Googling some of the rare bills they found, and once again, they packed them all up and visited an appraiser. Paul sold off the rare bills for as much as 4 times their face value. In total, after counting both packages, the couple had found over $45,000 buried in their ceiling. Paul deposited all of it right into his bank account. "I seriously had to make an appointment and sit there and watch them count it all out," he wrote. "It was great fun." So what did they do with their new riches? A simple home renovation had quickly turned into one of the most exciting things to ever happen to this couple. They couldn't believe that all this time, walking on their first level, about $45,000 was stored right underneath their feet. In a follow-up post on Reddit, Paul answered some users' questions. One asked what the couple planned to do with the money. "It's in the bank and will be paid towards our mortgages," Paul explained. With the extra funds, the couple predicted that they could pay off their mortgage quickly and be able to move to the countryside. Here's to hoping they decide to do some more renovations once they move. After all, who knows what they might find.